problems, worries, sadness? Are you seeking solutions?
Bible says,
Do not be anxious about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Choose faith over fear.
Introducing the head coach for the University of Montana, Lady Grizz, Robin Selvig.
Being able to play for someone like Rob, you can't capture the emotion, the moment, the girls all together over 40 years. So that was the catalyst.
I think there was genuine sympathy and concern and wanted to make you feel better. And that's what a real teammate does.
He made that house a home to so many people, not just the players.
Watching Rob coach was fun and exciting and scary.
You have lots of failures. You don't achieve everything you hoped for, and it doesn't come easily.
We feel so hopeless and so helpless to say, no, there's still light. And by the way, we're supposed to be that light.
Just the power of one person, that one person can make a difference.
Welcome to Shalom World's Beyond the Vision, a show that features inspirational film and television. I'm your host, Joelle Maryn, and today we're going behind the scenes of the documentary, The House That Rob Built. I have with us today Megan Harrington, the director, writer, and producer, and Rob Selvig, whose life story the documentary is based on.
And introducing the head coach for the University of Montana, Lady Grizz, Robin Selvig.
It has been simply a phenomenal year for the Lady Grizz basketball team. They would shatter individual scoring and attendance records. They would remain the only major undefeated team in the country, and they would make Robin Selvig the winningest coach in UM history.
Rob Selvig was a pioneer in providing opportunities for women to participate in athletics.
Nobody thought you could ever produce revenue.
Oftentimes they thought we were a cheerleading squad. No, we're a girls basketball team.
They're looking, thinking, these guys got no chance.
He makes you a whole different person. As much as you think it's about the wins and the losses, it's about the person you become.
Welcome both of you to the show. What a joy to have you with us today.
Good to be here.
Thank you.
Megan, well, we have you back again on Beyond the Vision. Last time we had you on for the movie Pray with Father Patrick Payton. Looks like you've been kind of busy, but I would like to hear a little more about what inspired you to do this documentary, and if you could just give us an overview of it as well.
Sure. Well, I grew up in Missoula, Montana, where the story is based, wanting to be a Lady Grizz. So I was a little girl running around town with that dream and aspiration, and didn't realize at the time that that was very unusual across the country. Until working on this project, I don't think I really understood what a gift that was for me and for so many other young girls across the state, having these role models, women playing basketball in front of packed crowds. That also was very unusual. But for me, it was just the norm. That's what I grew up with. So it's the inspiring true story of Rob Selvig, a pioneering coach at the University of Montana, who coached Lady Grizz basketball. In an era when gender discrimination was the norm, he built a house of inclusion by recruiting young women from reservations, farms, ranches, and small towns, and across Big Sky country, and became a powerhouse in the West Coast for women's basketball. So I did get the opportunity to play for Rob, which it was a huge gift in my life. Knew when he retired, I think there was going to be a reunion that he knew was happening, but he didn't know how many people were coming back. And it was over 100 women, and knew at that time, knowing the gift that basketball had played in my life, how grateful I was for the lessons I learned, the friendships I made, being able to play for someone like Rob, who is a mentor, but also a friend, because there was that strong divide of coach and, we all very much respected him. So when he retired and the reunion was happening, it was You can't capture that again. You can't capture the emotion, the moment, the girls all together over 40 years coming together to celebrate that. So that was the catalyst for making the film. And boy, sure impacted my life through the course of working on it.
So beautiful to have someone to believe in you, especially as a little girl, to have this dream and have someone to take it to the next level. Rob, that's what I want to talk to you a little bit about. How did you get these women to reach their full potential, and how can we do that for other people and to empower them with the dreams that the Lord has placed in their hearts?
Well, I never really had some big plan or anything. I loved basketball. I enjoyed working with kids. I enjoyed playing basketball, and it was just natural for me to become a coach after I finished my playing career. It had just been a big part of my life, and the first job I took, I thought I was taking a men's job, a boys' job in a high school. And the coach there decided not to retire, and they asked me if I'd take the women. And that's how I got into them. And I said, sure, I'll take the women. And I approached it no differently than I would have approached if I was coaching men. I had same expectations. I learned very quickly that they were not only talented, but they were competitive, and they were getting something, because this was one of the first years they were having women's basketball in Montana. They were given an opportunity that they hadn't had, and they wanted to take advantage of that opportunity. So they were a joy to coach, and from there it went. I ended up at the University of Montana for 38 years, coaching a whole bunch of really good athletes, great people, outstanding young ladies, and it was, I feel pretty blessed.
What are some of the things you did or said to them to push them to keep making that extra mile, to go that extra moment in the game and to not give up?
Well, I think in athletics, as in probably everything in life, the ability to not give up is so important, because you have lots of failures if you're an athlete. You don't achieve everything you hoped for, and it doesn't come easily, as everything in life doesn't. The thing about being a basketball coach and being on a team is you're sharing all of those things. And I just think when you have people to share things with, you're gonna be able to achieve more. You don't want to let each other down. It's a team thing. You don't want to let your family down in a life thing. And it's a journey that you just share. You share bad things, good things, and it's the whole journey that makes it all worthwhile. You can look at won a lot of basketball games and there's a good record, but those are not the things you're going to remember. Believe me, we're going to remember what the times we shared, and the sad times in the locker room, and the happy times, and the things that are important in life. People.
There you go. And love, right? At the end of the day, it's about relationship and communication and love. And Megan, I'd like to ask you, how did you come up with the title, The House That Rob Built?
That is a great question. I think more than anything, it was a metaphor. And I don't remember a moment where we were all sitting around and it was like, that's what it is. It was just this realization, doing the research, looking through the archives and kind of getting a grasp of what happened is Rob built a house in Missoula that was not happening other places in the country, or very few. So he built a house where a community could come together. And they followed, and we won together and we lost together. And it really was a family atmosphere. But then within that house was also the team, and all of us across generations. So that's nearly 40 years of women who know each other, who are getting to know each other again, who are part of this family. And at the center of that was Rob, because he stayed and he made that house a home to so many people, not just the players, but fans, people searching for inspiration, people who never got a chance to play, to come and watch us. So it has a lot of meaning. And I think it's the most appropriate title. There were other things, at other times, well, should we name it this? And it is, I think, the most appropriate title for the film.
I don't know if there's another school in the country that has anything like this.
I don't think he looked at me like I was a Native American. He looked at me as a basketball player.
Just to have somebody say, we believe in you, well, that probably changed the trajectory of my life incredibly.
The impact that playing here and Rob has had on my life has been immense. And I still feel as much a part of the Lady Grizz as I ever did. And it's been 35 years.
Cared about everybody. I mean, there is no question he cared about everybody.
Crowds also played a big part in this. Rob, can you share a little bit about what did the crowds do for the team? How did they participate as part of the community? What can we learn from them?
That's one of the things that you'd all hear them talk about, the crowd. Just to see the looks on their faces, one of the first times the place was packed, and them running out of the locker room and just, seeing a full gym for a women's basketball game. And, it brought tears to everybody's eyes because people didn't know that could happen. I don't think there was expectations from people. I know when I took the job and I had played at the University of Montana, it gave me some credibility with people here, but they were still, girls basketball, it's not going to be, there's going to be jump balls. And they just didn't realize how talented these young ladies could be and how hard they'd work and how competitive they were. And our fans fell in love with our team. First of all, we had great young ladies, great kids, great students, something to be proud of, even if they hadn't won a whole bunch of basketball games. But they just, and I keep using the term share, but if we won a championship, or, we got to share that with so many people, the university, the crowd, that you just felt like they were a part of it. And I think equally as important, when we didn't do well or we lost a tough game, I think there was genuine sympathy and concern and wanted to make you feel better instead of, I think over the years it became you lose, get rid of the coach. I mean, they I think they supported us through good times and bad times, and that's what a real teammate does, and a real person, who cares about you does.
Yeah, and God is our biggest fan. But
could I piggyback on that too?
Sure. Yeah.
In 1978, there wasn't Facebook. There wasn't email. There weren't all these ways to let people know, hey, come watch the Lady Grizz play. Rob went out into the community. He went out and invited people to be part of it. So they showed up because he went out to ask them to show up. And like he said, he was a great player at the University of Montana, and that carried credibility. But they came because he made sure that they knew we were playing. So it really is a testimony to not only was he working with the women in the gym, he was out in the community saying, you have to come watch them. And when they did, they kept coming.
One time he went to sit down and missed a chair and got right up and didn't even know he missed the chair.
One of the lines he always told me, I made up for my lack of height with my lack of speed.
He's like, Williams, I sure wish I could have played you more, but we simply could not afford to have you on the floor for us. And it was true, they couldn't.
We are the dumbest team in America!
Pretend you're fast, put your hands on. I got called Wendy Weak a lot.
Yeah, so there's the power in that personal invitation. And especially, these women are so inspirational. You being one of them, coming from a small Montana town, which most of them did, as well as Indian reservations. And so this has done huge things, I think, to inspire others, as well as what has this done in general for women's sports? It opened up a whole new arena. Can you share a little bit about that?
Well, the opportunity for women, I don't know if you're asking Megan or me, but I beat her to the punch. I really think this movie that Megan did, this was her deal, and I probably wouldn't have said yes to anybody else when she came with this. I thought it was a joke idea that she wanted to make this movie, but it really it shows the growth of opportunity for in women's sports. Early 70s, Title IX, and the opportunities that weren't there not that long ago. I have 3 sisters. The oldest one had no chance to be in sports in high school. The second oldest one got 2 years, and my youngest sister got 4 years. Well, they all would have loved to have that opportunity, and the opportunity to go to college on a scholarship, which boys were getting. So I really think that the film does a good job of tracing the growth of opportunity and probably surprising people as to how far it could grow and how fans would learn to appreciate it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And also, there's just the training that they went through. They probably reached levels they never thought they could within the game and the sport and that community and the growth on the team. When you looked out at your retirement party and saw all those hundreds of faces staring back at you and seeing each one uniquely, how did that feel? What was that moment like?
Well, it was touching. I mean, it was emotional because I had stories from every face there. And, as a coach, you worry, you hope that everybody can have a good experience. Not everybody gets to be a starter. Not everybody gets to be all conference. Some of the girls, they don't reach what they'd hoped for in terms of basketball. But to realize that they had a good experience, a good life's experience, and they made lifetime friends. And I think they all knew I cared about them. I mean, whether I played them as much as they wanted, Megan used to get mad. She didn't get to play enough sometimes. And no, that's not true. But, that's a hard thing for a coach because you want to be able to make people happy. And that's a difficult thing to do as a coach because there's only so many minutes and so many things. But that's why the other experiences that we shared, I think, are the most important experiences. And the fact I really believe, I think they all knew I was there for them. And I still am there for them. They need something, they can give me a call because I'll be there.
You were tough on them when you needed to be tough, to persevere, to keep going, but then you also made that personal connection and they felt, I want to say, almost even like a father figure, because this world really needs more father figures in the world. And as a coach, you had such a great opportunity.
Well, thank you.
And Megan, we know that these things don't go off without a hitch all the time. Usually there's something that happens in the filming process. What were some of the challenges that you encountered, and what are some ways that God has provided?
Yes, he did provide, and there were challenges. Like Rob had said earlier, it's not always going to be easy, and things that are worth it generally never are. Although I did pray, please make this easy. And it didn't turn out that way. But it certainly was worth it. One of the biggest things, too, initially launching when I said that they had the reunion, well, we had not had adequate time to raise money to film. And filming's expensive. It could be $13,000 or $15,000 for a shoot. And just didn't have that. So it was a really big moment of, okay, well, this is, we've got to do it. And so I had a couple of family members who, and myself, and pitched in on that. And that turned into a little bit of a source of stress along the way. We got to get this finished. Funding is always an issue. You're so blessed when you get something right from the beginning. Here's all the funds and go make a film. So that was very stressful. And I really wanted to make sure that they got paid back. And then I would keep the loan myself, And well, one day I get a call from these two guys. I'd worked on the movie Unplanned, and I had brought them the book. And we had talked 8 years earlier, probably. I had kept in touch with them along the way. And they said, hey, we're going to make that movie. I was in the midst of making a movie. They were going to be down in Texas. And I was in the midst of making Prey. And they said, well, we're going to send you something. And the check that I got in the mail was exactly almost what I had owed my two siblings. And that was when that was probably a couple years into it. And I was like, God just, he takes you right to the edge. And then he delivered. And then when Family Theater acquired the film, was made whole completely. So it was one of those things that you don't do. It's like, hey, what not? This is also what not to do. Make a film when you don't have the money to do it. But I know it was prayers. I know it was my parents' prayers. And I know it was meant to be on the other side, because there were so many things that happened along the way that weren't about the movie. But had I not done it, I wouldn't have had experienced those. So, there's something through the grit and having to persevere and having to make those hard choices that at the time are difficult. And when you look back, I think you see how God weaves things together in ways that you couldn't see at the time. So that leap of faith turned out to, I don't know if I'll do it again. I'm not going to test him, but I'm sure grateful, and he showed up. He showed up big time.
Introducing the head coach for the University of Montana, Lady Grizz, Robin Selvig.
And they would make Robin Selvig the winningest coach in UM history.
The game sold out days in advance, the largest crowd ever for women's basketball west of the Rockies.
Rob Selvig was a pioneer in providing opportunities for women to participate in athletics.
Yeah, and I think it's important what you're saying too, is that when God places a dream and inspiration in your heart and it seems impossible to take that first step, and with each step comes the grace. And like you said, you may not do it on the next project. Well, God may not call you to do it this way on the next project. So Megan, what are you hoping the impact will be, and how can we watch the documentary?
Well, I hope people are inspired and entertained. First and foremost, as filmmakers, that's the goal too. Inspiration, especially in this world at this time, inspiration could go a long way, bring some light to darkness. I hope that people, you guys have talked about this along the way, of just the power of one person, and whether that's something big. Rob obviously was on a stage coaching; it's in the limelight. But in our communities, each in our own lives, there's ways that we can impact other people. That one person can make a difference. That reaching out and extending a hand to somebody makes a difference, and you'll never know on this side what a difference it could make. So hopefully that people will feel inspired for their own dreams and goals, and that they're never too late to pursue those, and whatever that might be. And if you aren't part of a community, to maybe search for one. There's a lot of loneliness, and maybe there's an opportunity for people to say, I may not be able to be a Lady Grizz because I'm older, or I'm musical, but I can find a community. Do I have a passion? Is there a hobby? Is there some way that I can reach out to others? And like you said, that fills you up. So inspired, entertained, and know that anything's possible. You can see it if you go to thehousethatrobbuiltmovie.com, thehousethatrobbuiltmovie.com. You can go to the watch page. It's on iTunes, Amazon, YouTube, pretty much all digital platforms. And if you have a DVD player or Blu-ray player, you can also buy a copy for yourself.
Wonderful. I am just so excited. It was amazing to have you guys here with us today. What a joy. We're going to continue to pray that more people watch the documentary and get the word out there. And like you said, to be inspired, to lift one another up, to be the light that lifts others out of darkness. That's really what it's all about. Thank you again. And it was just an absolute joy. God bless you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. God bless.
For all of you watching, the house that Rob built is sure to inspire and empower you. And never forget that God loves you and believes in you, and we do too. Please stay connected with us, and I hope to see you again real soon. God be with you. Shalom.
Someone who's used media a lot in evangelization, so I believe in the importance of Catholic radio, Catholic TV, Catholics using the new media. Can I encourage everyone to watch Shalom TV? I think it's a great vehicle of evangelization. And God bless all of you.